Could you talk a little bit more about, the origination fee, the discount? How do I buy
Yeah,
down my rate? What's all that about? Because it sounds kind of confusing for somebody just going
sure,
in, buying their first home.
sure. Absolutely. And one of the biggest questions that I get from people is what's the lowest interest rate out there? What's the lowest rate I qualify for? And although low rates are going to have you pay less interest over the life of the loan, a higher interest rate is going to cost you less upfront. So if you're going to make a 3% down payment on a home, but it's kind of a tight squeeze, I would suggest to not get the lowest rate possible, because when I qualify someone, it gives me a rate sheet and it'll give me a range of different interest rates someone can qualify for. And it'll say the lowest rate you can qualify this person at is, let's say, a 3% interest rate. And the highest rate will be a 4.5% interest rate. At that 3% rate, you would have to bring an additional 2% of your loan amount to closing. So if you're putting 3% down, that's 3% down plus your origination fees, which in points alone, by law, you can pay up to 2% of your loan amount. You can't buy down the rate past 2%. And on the contrary to that, the largest lender credit you can receive is 2% of your loan amount. And what I mean by a lender credit is, let's say instead of taking this 3% rate and bringing an additional 2% to closing, you can realistically take the 4.5% rate. And if you were planning on bringing 3% to closing, now you would be bringing 1% of the loan amount. And what I mean by that is you are now able to receive a lender credit instead of buying down your rate. The lender is incentivizing you by giving you additional funds to help cover those costs of closing.
Okay.
So based on, whether, and sometimes it's not even a matter of how much money do you have? Do you want to buy it down? Or, if the down payment's going to be difficult, taking a higher rate, sometimes it's a matter of how long do you plan on living in the home for? It doesn't make sense to buy down your interest rate and pay extra points in origination if you plan on leaving that home in 1.5 to 2 years, because you'll never see the savings of that lower rate because of how much higher of a cost you paid. So, you can look at amortization schedules and your cost to recoup and decide, okay, if this is a home that I want to stay in for maybe 5 to 10 years, maybe take a middle rate. If this is my home that I plan on staying in for 30 years and never refinancing, go ahead and buy down the points and get the lowest rate possible. But if this is a home that in 2 to 3 years you plan on just fixing up and selling, or maybe renting it out, or whatever it may be, moving to a bigger home, and this is just a starter home, and you hope once you have kids to move on to a bigger home. I always say there's no point in paying down that
Right.
paying down for the lower rate when you can just put less money out of pocket, and you're going to be out of that home within 2-3 years anyway.